Good day, YouTube. It is Valentine's Day. Yep, February 14th, 2022. And this is fourth video, I think, in the series on this 1985 Honda Goldwing GL1200. It's the Aspen Cade model. One buddy of mine is retiring, moving from the West Coast to the East Coast, and said, come on and get it. So we got it. We're bringing it back to life. We're starting to polish it up a little bit, and a couple things have happened. So bring you up to speed here a little bit. So on the left handlebar is the clutch master cylinder. And when I picked it up, you know, the lever was floppy. There was no fluid in the master cylinder. And so I've been putting fluid in it and working the lever, trying to work the air out. You can still see a few bubbles coming out. I've been doing this for literally since day one. And yesterday I finally got enough air out to actually be able to pump up some pressure. And what I come up with was when I was pulling the lever back about this far, right there, it felt more like a brake lever than a clutch lever, because this should always come all the way to the handle grip, where a brake lever would stop short. So I don't think I have quite all the air out right now, but it's pretty close. But I was coming up right there, and what I thought was going on, and I was right, that the slave cylinder was trying to push on the clutch rod, and it was stuck. So I just kept at it very gently, not to force anything, but to try to kind of push on a little bit, push on a little bit, push on a little bit. And finally, after a couple episodes of that during the day yesterday, it broke loose. I could actually hear it. I believe it's functioning properly now. Okay, so I'm just topped off the .4 brake fluid a little bit. I'm just going to work this lever, make sure we get all the air out of it. I think that's pretty good. I think we're good to go. I need to put the buttons back up for the radio and CV there, and put that back together. So the goal for today is to get this thing back together, get all the parts back on it, and maybe it'll drive right around on its own power. The front brake seems to work properly. The rear brake, which is one front brake and the rear brake, tends to drag a little bit. So I don't think I'm going to have the time to mess with that directly. But it's got fresh non-ethanol fuel in the tank with some seafoam in it. And we'll be able to, run it occasionally and maybe move it around. I got to find a place to put this thing. It's my deal. Right now, the mystery machine is sitting outside, and it's trying to rain a little bit today. And for all the equipment that's in that, its security and all that, it's not going to sit outside another night. So we got to put this thing back together and so forth. You might see I've got a temporary fuel pump rigged up because after the Will It Run video, I actually went to start it, and it ran poorly, and then pretty soon it wouldn't run at all. And what I realized is the original fuel pump, which you can see is just hanging, where is it? Right there. Died. So I rigged up a fuel can and another 12-volt pump that had actually 5/16 outlet, so that I could run the engine a little more. So I ordered up an aftermarket fuel pump. It has arrived, a fuel filter, and an air filter. In the efforts to get this buttoned up today with its new fuel pump, new fuel filter, get everything back together, and get the external fuel tank and stuff taken off, and get this thing put back together so it's complete, no missing parts. And we're going to have to set this thing aside. I've been kind of fortunate to have the last couple months only working one or maybe sometimes 2 days a week. But last week we got enough stuff going on that I work construction, so we're just kind of waiting for a building to get ready for us, and it's getting there. So we worked 3 days last week. We'll work 4 days this week. Today's Monday. We're going to work the rest of the week this week, and then we're going back to 5 days, 40 hours. So, and I got over a 2-hour commute. So we're back to it. I'm going to have a lot less time for these bigger projects. So I'd say we're going to give up on it. I don't honestly know what we're going to do with it completely. The fun part's always getting them running and so forth. So I'm going to start off with the connector for the fuel pump should be in the tank, and we're going to have to disconnect that and pull a pole wire down, get rid of the old fuel pump, pull in the new wire. With the new fuel pump, pull the filter out, and let's get all that fuel system stuff changed out. Do just a little more cleaning in the air box inside and put the new air filter in, and yeah, we're just cleaning and putting parts back on today, I think. So let me get some stuff going and check back with you a little bit. All right, guys, we got the fuel pump back in the Goldwing and got everything buttoned back up again. And here's the deal. We got some weather coming. The Scooby van's been outside way too long. It's got to come back in today. I got to move all this garbage to somewhere else. I'm going to stick this bike right there for now. Keeping it inside, obviously. And moving on. So I have returned to work full time. I'm in my last year. I'm going to retire. So somewhere around the end of this year, somewhere in the first few months or something of 23, somewhere in there, we're going to call it a career. But it's been really nice to have a bunch of time off. We could do stuff like this. But unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, I'm not going to have the time to do a whole bunch of stuff to this. So just other priorities in the world. It was a fun project. It was just an opportunity. My friend, who I've known and worked with for 30 years, 40 years, however long it's been, he's retired. He's moving to Florida from the West Coast, and he needed to do something with his bike. He needed to do something with it quickly. He wanted it to go into good hands. He wanted it to be ridden again. My goal, short-term goal, was to get it functioning, which we did for the most part. Is it rideable? No. But it runs, sort of. But I got a lot of comments on the videos, and comments are right on the money. And it's not, I'm not going to restore this motorcycle. I'm just not. I have really no time to ride it. I sold my police bike, my ST1300. I had a 2007 ST1300. Some of you may have saw those videos. That's fabulous motorcycle. These are fabulous motorcycles, don't get me wrong. But this isn't probably the bike I wish to ride if I had time to ride. Right now, neither one of those are a player here. I don't have time to ride. I don't have the desire to ride. But when I retire, something else, maybe a different bike, maybe another ST1300 that we can ride two up on. A police bike is a one-person motorcycle, if you didn't know. Or maybe a GL1500 or something. I've ridden the 1800s. I really don't like them. They're a little too plushy for me. The 1500, I put tens of thousands of miles on. Put tens of thousands of miles on these too. Don't get me wrong. But I like the reverse and so forth on the 15. So what's going to happen with this 12? If you're interested in it, shoot me an offer in the comments there. I may decide to put this on the market and put it down the road. It's a very, very nice bike. It needs a complete mechanical restoration, and let me go over that because it's something I did fail to do, and the commenters are spot on. If you are going to put this thing back on the road, you need to go through the bike. It should go through the brakes. I have got the clutch bled out. I think you could just take the brakes apart or possibly just bleed them out. I've had Goldwings forever. I've had 8 or 9 GL1000s. I had 4 or 5 of them all at the same time. And they sat around a little bit too, and the brakes got sticky. Again, I've got the clutch bled out. The front brake works fine. It's the combination brake, your foot pedal, that's a little sticky right now. I think you can free up the calipers fairly easily. These tires were put on there in 1994, rode 200 miles home. It's been sitting in a barn. Would I take off on a trip on them? I would not. So you're looking at tires. The fork seals seem to be okay at this time. In fact, both air shocks, front and rear, still had air pressure in them, according to the gauge on the bike. So probably good. Well, the very first thing I checked on this bike, and that's why I left the side cover off, I mean, you see those 3 yellow wires in front of the battery, and you see those splices right there. So there's a connector there, and that goes to the stator. I have put a stator in a 1200. A couple of us got together to help a friend, and we pulled the motor out of his bike. Putting a stator in a GL 1200 is a pain in the butt. And usually what takes the stator out is that connector goes bad, and that cooks the stator. So people say, oh man, don't get a bike like that because, you know, the stators are going to go out. You're going to have to put a stator in. No. Change that connector, hardwire the connector. I actually prefer solder and shrink tube. That one's been crimped, it's probably just fine. It's way better than the connector that was in there. The connector fails and the stator goes out. So if you own a 1200 or if you ever think to buy one, hardwire that, get that connector out of there, hardwire it, and be done with it. You'll likely never have an issue. You've seen all the lights and stuff on this bike. This bike would have a cooked stator, guaranteed, because they would have burnt the connector up for the amount of current that this bike would draw with all the lights burning. So, yeah, the bike's very, very good. It has the original toolkit, has the original air hose, so you can air up tires from the onboard air compressor. The air compressor does work. I've used it. I reset the suspension. It's got the original owner's manual. It is, what was it, 44,000 miles? Yeah, 44,740 something. Anyway, radio works. CB seems to function. I didn't get a radio checker, and nobody uses CBs anymore. But anyway, all the lights work except for one of the driving lights. It needs a lot of cleanup and polishing. But you know, if you took this thing and you spent some time with it over winter or spring or something, you'll have a very nice motorcycle. So I'd entertain offers on it. I would, you know, depending on where we end up with the thing. You know, my buddy gave it to me, but he's a friend, so I'll make it right with him. However we end up with this thing. Again, the thing is loaded to the gills. Probably you can't get most of this stuff anymore, but it's kind of all here, including the Honda stuff. Altimeter on a motorcycle. Yep, now I've seen it. This little light here is not hooked up, or it was hooked up, but I see the wires hanging right there. Just being honest there. All the buttons will work on the handlebars and stuff. It does have a cover that I took to the car wash already, and we'll get it covered up. Keep it clean. I did not finish polishing this thing up or anything. So we are going to call this project on hold, and it may go away, and that's fine. It is what it is. We're going to move on. So, gang, thanks for watching. Appreciate the comments, all the comments. There's not bad comments. I didn't make it clear that I've owned these things all my life, and I know everything about them. I've had engines out. I parted them out. We rebuilt one that was totaled, and then my wife ended up with, we had an 86 SEI. If you're not familiar, it's a special edition fuel-injected version of this same motorcycle, and it has more doodads on it. And yeah, it was pretty special. My father-in-law had one. He ended up making a 3-wheeler out of it, triked it, and we had a 2-wheeler version. So anyway, I have a ton of history with them. I've seen it all. This bike needs to go through. It's going to need tires, fix the brakes, put timing belts in it. Even if they were brand new and this thing was parked, they got a lot of age to them now. Time to put timing belts on them. Yeah, and just give her a proper tune-up. Go through the carburetors. I know they're not right. Yeah, we got it running. We know mechanically she's pretty sound, but if it's going to be right, it needs to all be done. And likely won't be done by me. I didn't seek this project; it sought me, and just wanted to get it out of where it was, out of the barn, clean it up, get it running, get it mechanical, rolling and so forth. Make sure what we got, so that I could figure out if I was going to keep it or sell it. It's probably going to get sold. So there we go. Guys, thanks for watching. Comment and subscribing. Hit the thumbs up on the way out the door. And we'll see you guys on the next video.